Welcome back, everyone. Those of you who've been watching my broadcast, I've got such an incredible lineup for you today. I'm joined here with Adriana, who is the owner of Moon Essence Me. So, Adriana, please say hello to all of our viewers.
Hey, everybody.
So, a few things that I want to share with you just before we get started with our talk about endometriosis. Endometriosis is a condition where the lining of the endometrium becomes inflamed. Sometimes there's polyps, sometimes there's phlegm, sometimes there's discomfort. There's a lot of symptoms that are related to endometriosis. And I think it's very important that we address these concerns because more and more women are going to the doctors to get support from their doctors about this condition, and they're either turned away or they're given medication that doesn't really help their symptoms when there is a natural solution to achieving this. And Adriana is going to tell us exactly what that is. So without further ado, let me introduce to you Adriana, the owner of MoonEssence.me, who experienced endometriosis and PCOS and found some really great results by using the method that she's going to share with us today. So thank you so much, Adriana, for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It truly is an honor to join you on this broadcast. I have watched it several times, so thank you very much for having me.
Well, I love doing these kinds of things, and so I know that your experience is really going to help out a lot of women who are dealing with some of the same things that you have.
Well, and that passion for this subject is really what brought me to the practice that I have now. So I'm a steam therapist. I use Chinese dietetics and vaginal steaming to help bring women's bodies back in balance. I had polycystic and endometriosis. And I had crazy irregular cycles, lots of painful bleeding. I had it since I pretty much started menstruating. I had always had problems with my period. And Western doctors, in their usual form, are, oh, you have period problems? Then we're going to give you birth control because this is one of the two tools that we have to work with. Because I hadn't had kids yet, they didn't suggest surgery quite yet. So birth control didn't work for me. Birth control, as a lot of women know, has all kinds of undesirable side effects. I ended up with a heart attack and in the emergency room at the age of 25 as a result of being on birth control. And I said, enough is enough. I knew things didn't feel right in my body, but I didn't, your intuition tells you that there's something not quite right, but you're not sure what that thing is. You can't quite put your finger on it. So acupuncture was such a blessing to me in terms of being able to attempt to regulate my cycle. But it wasn't until I found vaginal steaming that I really, truly had a regular, pain-free, no weirdness period. It's been such a beautiful practice for me. I now, with my steaming practice, I don't have endometriosis or polycystic anymore. And this is like clinically diagnosed. Doctors have done tests and I have lab results to prove it. So it's always really beautiful to see Eastern medicine measured in a Western way because that's how we're wired. We need to have data and numbers to support, well, does this thing really work? And I have that, which I very readily share with my patients because I feel like every woman needs to know about vaginal steaming and how it can help their cycle.
That's right. You make a lot of great points there that that we're about to address today. And one of those things is, what V-steaming can do and what it's done for you. Traditional Chinese medicine is a wonderful way for us to bring our body back into balance. But at the same time, there are combinations of things that we want to incorporate. Self-care practices, seeing an acupuncturist, but things that we ourselves have to depend on, for example, in your case, V-steaming. But what's really interesting too is that not only has this experience allowed you to get the results that you wanted, but it also gave birth to a business that you have just like completely created a monster with, and it's called Moon Essence Me. So can you tell us a little bit more about how Moon Essence Me was inspired and the direction that it's going?
Absolutely. So Moon Essence grew out of secondary unexplained infertility. And over 68% of women in the United States that are trying to have babies fall into that category, either secondary or primary infertility, because life is stressful. There's lots of toxins. There's so many reasons why the efficiencies in our body start to slow down. So I heard a podcast with the amazing Kimberly Ann Johnson and Kelly Garza, the founder of ChiC, and they were talking about vaginal steaming, and I was like, holy cow, I need to get on board with this. And there were no facilitators anywhere close to where I live, because I live in Maine. And I was the one that brought it to Maine, which was very exciting. But so I contacted them and I said, hey, here's my situation. I really want to get on board with this practice. How can I do it? And so Raquel Lemus talked me through like how to set up my steaming protocol for my goals, which was wonderful. And so I started steaming. And in that first cycle, I mean, I started mid-cycle because I was incredibly enthusiastic. And in that first cycle, I went from having a almost 10-day period down to having a 6-day period, which was like a game changer in itself. The pain was less, the flow wasn't as heavy. I felt like a brand new person. And I'm like, there is something really beautiful about this, and I need to learn more about it. So, so I started steaming, but then I also started learning because I was really excited about the results that I saw for myself. And so I did the facilitator program through the Perry Steam Hydrotherapy Institute. I'm in the process of working through the final phases of the Perry Steam Hydrotherapist certificate. And that has been an amazing experience. But I would find myself raging at my computer while I was going through the initial phases of that training, because I'm like, why don't we know this information? We live in these bodies, and we're not taught body literacy, how to read them, how to know what our period is telling us, so that we can take action before it increases and compounds into problems like fibroids, endometriosis, etc. So, so my own steaming practice and my love to be a facilitator began through my own personal journey. But then my husband took pity on me when I was doing my steaming, because my first couple of steams, I didn't have any of the equipment except steam, a bowl, and herbs. So I'm kneeling on the bathroom floor for my 10 minutes, and, you know, post knee surgery, that was not the most comfortable situation in town. And so the second steam, I have a squatty potty in my house, and so it like wraps around, for those of you that don't know what that is, it like wraps around the front of your toilet so that you can put your feet on it when you're having a bowel movement. So it's curved, and so I flipped it around and I perched my rear end on it to like hover over my little steaming herbs, because I was desperate to get a little more comfortable, but I had to like find the right distance. So my husband walks into the bathroom while I'm doing this, and he looks at me and he smirks and he goes, "That doesn't look very comfortable." And I was like, "No, this isn't the most efficient way to do it, but I'm committed, right?" I'm like, "Shut the door, get out of here." So in his own quiet, wonderful way, because he's just an amazingly supportive spouse, a steam sauna appeared, and it was the beginning of the saunas that we make for this business. So he made one for me, and we fine-tuned the process, and now we make a really quality steam sauna that no matter what size a woman is, she can comfortably sit down on it. We've tested it so that we know that it'll support, over 400 pounds. And because like you should be able to do this practice and feel like the goddess that you are. And so one thing that, really launched Moon Essence was not only teaching women and educating women about their bodies and about the practice itself, but also, we were able to offer women the tools that they could rely on in order to feel the most divine that they possibly could doing this practice themselves.
Gosh, I just love that so much, how your husband got 100% involved and was like, listen, I think that we can create something here that's going to benefit you and women from all around the world. I applaud him for that. Thank you so much.
He's really amazing.
Yeah, he sounds like a great guy. I mean, come on now, really? Who would actually do that unless it was a husband who was so committed to his wife, really accomplishing her health goals. So before we actually get into what these saunas look like, because I promised all the viewers here what they look like and that you would show us, I would like for you to share with us a little bit more about the nutritional aspect, something that people can start using right now, because it's not just about the V-steam, it's not just about what you eat and the medication that you take, but it's about the nutrition. And there are certain foods that you had to refrain from and certain foods that you were encouraged to eat. So can you tell our viewers what are some tips that they can take away right now in order to help them achieve some results or just to start feeling better?
Absolutely. So women who have endometriosis, I had to refrain from dairy. And man, I love my cheese. So that was a very difficult thing to do. But wheat, refined sugar, and dairy are three of the linchpins in really exacerbating the problem with endometriosis and fibroids. So I can't cut them out completely though, because like everything in Chinese medicine, it's all about balance. So, if I have cheese, I'll have it like Monday with my eggs, for example, and then I'll wait, 3 or 4 solid days before I even tempt the waters again. And I find that works pretty well. But you'll be able to see it in your cycle as well. You'll be able to see it in your mucus as well. Because if you have too many of these dampening foods, which is what these are, then your mucus starts to get thicker, and your menses starts getting like stretchy because there's a more mucousy component to it. So your body will tell you if you've reached your threshold of this is too much. But with endometriosis, increasing circulation is really important. So making sure that you get 5 to 10 minutes of cardio between day 12 and 25 of your cycle is really important. And that doesn't have to be crazy like kickboxing for an hour or anything like that. It can be a brisk walk, just enough to bring your heart rate up to start to break a sweat. If you do that every day, that helps increase your circulation. But then the types of foods also that help increase your circulation and warm you up would be things like ginger, cardamom, spices like cinnamon. If you're prone to heavy flood bleeding, I'd probably refrain from cinnamon during your period itself. But teas that have these types of herbs in it, eating more soups and stews, both during your period, but also throughout the course of your cycle. Raw foods take more energy to burn, and so and you have to actually warm up to burn them, which is great for somebody that has heat signatures. But if you're looking at somebody that has endometriosis, introducing warming foods into the body, whether it's by temperature or by the thermogenetic properties, is going to help increase your circulation as well, which helps the efficacy of your period.
That's right. Totally agree. You've got it right on the money. I mean, this is coming from somebody who's so passionate about Chinese medicine that she almost went to Chinese medicine school. But you've got it right on the money. Those of you who are looking for tips and ways to take it to the next level or to even begin, staying away from those dampening foods, because what's really happening in the body is the body's creating phlegm, and that kind of food is not allowing the body to eliminate. So what happens is it creates a very thick substance in the body. So in Chinese medicine, we look at things like milk and dairy products as pus and blood. And if you're consuming that, then you're adding to the accumulation of pus in the body. But if you're eating things that are more plant-based, then it makes it easier for the body to efficiently digest and metabolize, which then allows you to have less painful menstruation. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. Those of you who are using essential oils are also very, very useful in this process too, because essential oils applied topically to the abdominal area, things like sage, cinnamon oil, blended with fractionated coconut oil or just coconut oil in general will help it from being so spicy and so hot on the skin. but also things like cardamom and thyme. These are also blood movers. When we combine all those oils, put them in a compress and put it on a lower abdomen, that can also give you comfort as well as adding those types of foods into our diet. So you also mentioned some tonifying foods as well. So we're talking about things like beef, lamb, chicken. Those are also very good. People who are vegan, vegetarian, there are tonifying foods that you can eat, like tofu, for example. But if you are on a vegan, vegetarian diet, you probably want to start looking at maybe incorporating that meat during that time of menstruation, because in Chinese medicine, it is not considered healthy for you to be vegan, vegetarian your whole entire life. The foods are too cold. Adriana, you also mentioned things like probiotics is also a good resource, and staying away from cold foods, but also eating raw foods. There is a time in our cycle when we want to introduce these raw foods, but at the same time, we want to eat raw foods because they help us metabolize the protein that our body has a difficult metabolizing, and it gives us the enzymes that our body needs. So it's great to use supplementation, but it's also very important that we eat these raw foods on a regular basis. So you hit it right on the money right there. Well, thanks for that. Let's talk a little bit about moxa, because you have incorporated moxa into your practice. What was that like for you?
Moxa has been a wonderful addition, especially with women that have endometriosis. There are several points on the legs, the conception vessel, which is the lower part of the abdomen, just above the pubic bone, and then on the back, that are really effective for women who are really, a lot of the women that I use it with are women that are suffering with infertility in some way. Especially the conception vessel points along the front. It helps the holding and staying in the latter part of the cycle in order to help prevent miscarriage.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I really don't know what people know about moxa. And when you mentioned that you use moxa, I was like, oh my gosh, she uses moxa. And moxa is one of the modalities within Chinese medicine that we use to warm up the lower jiao, and it also allows the menstruation to be more comfortable. So during those times of the month, either whether it be ovulation or whether it be during the time of menstruation, that can really give you a lot of comfort. And you can ask your acupuncturist, if you're seeing one, to show you how to apply that, on what points to use. There are very specific points that we want to use those on. So that's really great. So without further ado, I am just so excited to see what is behind those curtains, because I promised everyone here that we would have a look at your saunas. So those of you who've never seen a sauna before, Adriana's going to show them what they look like, and she's also going to show us her goddess room. So this is what a sauna looks like, and I'm going to let you, Adrienne, share with us more details about this.
Okay, so we make several different models of saunas. Here, let me turn this one around here. So we make them both upholstered and unupholstered, and we make them in poplar and pine. So this one down here is in pine, and this one is upholstered, and that one is unupholstered. So some people just like the natural wood itself. But the way that saunas work, you can set them up with an advanced heat setup or on its own. So with an advanced heat setup, this would be for somebody, as long as you don't have any heat signatures, this would be for somebody that has endometriosis, really, because we are looking for the increase in circulation. So you have the burner in there. You can also use a crock pot. That works very nicely as well. But once you have boiled your herbs, you would put the pan on it like this, and you just leave the cover on it until you're ready to sit down. And then when you're ready to sit down, you pull the cover, you sit, and you hang out for a duration of time, whether that is 20 to 30 minutes, that's on average. But that would be an advanced heat setup. So a mild heat setup would be somebody that may have some heat signatures. So if you're prone to yeast infections, BV, UTIs, anything like that, and in that instance, you would just put the pan itself into the bottom. So in this instance, because we don't put bottoms on ours, so that you don't get the moisture accumulation and it dropping down to the bottom to have the wood rot out at the bottom, because we don't treat the inside so you don't get the chemicals when you're steaming. You'd put a trivet down on the floor to protect your floor. You'd put the pan down and leave the lid on it until you're ready to sit. And then you'd pull the cover when you're ready. And in that particular instance, you're working with the natural heat decay. So it'll be a little warmer towards the beginning. And then, so it's very, very basic. There's a little hole here at the bottom all the way around so that you can put a cord through for your advanced heat setup without any issue.
So there are obviously different ways. So there are different, depending on the condition that someone has, you're going to have it on a warmer or you're not going to have it on a warmer.
Correct.
And that's really important to know the difference. Wow. And so now behind you, you have different sections of the saunas, right? Or
yeah.
For private rooms.
So the reason why I started with the saunas is if you were to order one with us, it would be one of the stool models that I just showed. But if you steam with me here in the office, one of the things that women don't do a good enough job with is self-care. So I wanted to create an oasis. So here's the chair, and you have your own space. And I've got a little water fixture in here and a salt lamp, and the music is obviously off for the interview, but there'd be quiet music in there. So you just go in and, here, let me flip the camera around. We've got gowns. If you have slower circulation and no heat signatures, you would steam in a steam gown. So those are all hung up in the corner. And the heat is right in the box on the bottom.
Wow. So that's just a chair.
Yeah, it's a chair
that
we modified. Yep. And then down here on the bottom,
that is beautiful.
Is a crock pot because I like the stability of a crock pot, and I like the lower risk personally because you don't have an open burner. You can totally do it with an open burner with no problem. But then we've also set this up so that if you and a girlfriend want to have this relaxing goddess experience together, you can pull the wall back in between and you can sit together and hang out and steam together.
I love it. You are a genius. You are such a genius.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Man, you make me want to open up my own bee steam, salon out here in South Florida. Like, forget acupuncture. This is way too cooler. This is so cool. You definitely make it look very beautiful, and you make it accommodating for people who want to either come to your office, or you make it easy for people to do this at home. So I know that there are some people who are going to want to know, how would they get started on something like this? Like, how would they even know how to work with you, or what herbs to get? Like, that's probably like the first question. Is this best for me, and how would I get started? So what would that process look like if I were to maybe even consult with you?
So this process is for everyone. So if the question is even there, like, is this for me? The answer is yes. If you identify as female and you're genetically female, then this is definitely a practice that will help your body in so many ways, whether you have endometriosis or not. So every woman needs this practice. But if you wanted to work with me, I do virtual consults as well as in the office, because let's face it, we're busy women. And not everybody can get into the office to see me because you have childcare or you're just not physically close by. I have clients all over the country, people in Washington State, Oregon. I mean, it's literally all over the country. So what we would do is we would schedule an appointment. I would send you paperwork that asks you a bunch of questions, like what are you currently experiencing? What's not working well for you? I'd ask you about the history of your last 6 periods. Are you infection prone? What type of infection do you usually get? Does it happen at a certain time? That type of thing. And so the questionnaire is a little bit comprehensive, but it's a lot of really great information. Then we sit down, and it's about an hour and a half. That first talk is a little more intensive. Excuse me, only because we are really looking at your entire history and what's not working, and then we talk about what's showing up for you and how you can, with food and with steam, create a plan that's going to work for you. And then after that, depending on whether you are with me in the office, we can schedule appointments out, or if this is a virtual consult, we figure out which steam sauna model would fit best for your budget or your comfort level. And then we get it built, we get it sent out to you. We talk about herbs in that appointment as well, so that you don't have to guess. And I put everything into little tea bags, so there's no measuring that you have to worry about. You literally toss the tea bag in, you boil it for the 10 minutes, and then you can prep your own setup at home.
Awesome. Well, that's great. So there's really no worries there. Now let's go over how much something like this will cost. I know that you have several different types of saunas. They range in different prices. You also have different types of herbs. So what are we looking at when we're looking at maybe even considering buying a sauna and getting the herbs?
So herbs range between $20 and $30. And you buy them every month or 2 months. It's not a big investment. The biggest investment is the first consult, because that's $90. We sit down for an hour and a half. But then the saunas themselves, they range from $180 to $325, depending on whether you get it upholstered or unupholstered and the type of wood that you choose. So the upholstered saunas, the reason why they're so much more expensive is because we use closed cell foam and we use marine grade vinyl. So it can take all the heating and cooling as many times as you want to do it, and nothing's going to crack and nothing's going to mold, and it will last the life of the stool. So.
And your consultations outside of this live video or this live event, you have a consultation fee and then you have a follow-up fee. So what do those consultations fees look like?
So it's $90 for the initial consult, and that's an hour and a half. And then after your first period, we do a post-cycle follow-up, and that's $60. If you steam with me in the office, it's $45 a steam session, or I do sell a package if you are planning on coming and steaming more frequently with me, to give you a bit of a price break. But then for those that steam at home, I sell a package, a startup package of follow-up consults. So they range between $30 and $45 per session, or if you buy a package of 3, again, I give you a price break, depending on whether you're looking for a 30-minute or a 45-minute follow-up. And those follow-ups, if we do them each cycle right after your period, you can give me a really fresh download of, this is what my period looked like this month. This is how it changed this month. This is what I'm still noticing. And then we can tailor your program from there. We can figure out, do we need to change the frequency? Do we need to change the heat? Do we need to change the herbs? And then we can make those tailored changes so that you continue to see success month over month. Because one thing that I found really early on is, if you aren't doing that monthly check-in, people start, life is busy, and they start falling off. And when that happens, then they're back to where they were before, and they get frustrated, and then they're starting from ground zero. So this way you're able to keep that momentum, and we can get your period to a healthy place in 3 to 6 months together, if we're both actively sharing information both ways. And then from there, if you want to check in with me because you have a question, I'm here to be your coach and to be your cheerleader, and to celebrate, when these things have changed, and the fact that you don't have any pain anymore, and I will throw a party with you, because that's what our periods should be. There shouldn't be any emotional side effects. There shouldn't be any pain. They should be lasting 4 to 5 days and coming every 28 to 30. And that's achievable. And for women who have endometriosis, it sounds like I'm describing a unicorn. And I thought it was a unicorn when I was first told that this is a thing. I was like, yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. But 2 cycles, and all of a sudden I had a 28-day cycle. And I was like, get out of here. Maybe this will work for me. And now I'm the proud owner of a unicorn, and I have no more lesions, I have no more cysts, and I have all of the Western medical scans to back that up. And it's an amazing place to be. And so that's why I'm so passionate about this subject, because I can really help people, and it's so beautiful when you get there with your clients. Like, I've had women that have not only had endometriosis, but also had infections, and like, they don't have infection cycles anymore. They don't have endometriosis, and they're living their beautiful, vibrant lives the way that they should be.
Awesome. Well, we have a comment here. I just want to shout out. We've got some great testimonials here. Robin says, working with Adrienne has changed my health and my life. Thank you so much, Robin, for sharing that with us. You know, Adrienne, I'm so glad that you took the time to really spend with me and my community and your community. And those of you who are watching, just because you're watching, and if you're even watching the replay, we have been able to create a way for you to speak with Adrienne and consult with her for a very limited time. Okay, so we're only giving you about a week's period for you to book your appointment, consult with Adrienne, and ask her as many questions that you need to in order to get you started on the right path. And Adrienne has kindly allowed us to waive that consultation fee, so that way you can get your questions answered right away, and you don't have to hesitate. You don't have to worry about, I don't know if this is worth it or not. And the way that you describe that this is like a unicorn, I believe it. I believe it because you don't know until you actually experience it. And those of you who are kind of like unsure, that's why we're here to broadcast this information. And as you can tell, Robin even said so, Adrienne has changed her life, and this practice has changed her life. So I also want to mention a couple of things before we go, that if you're unable to send this video with somebody, this will be uploaded to my YouTube channel, and then you can reach out to Adrienne and she can send you a link to this as well, so you can continue to pass this video on to your girlfriends, and the message can still be circulated around each one of our communities. I also want to take the time to encourage you to step in and really learn about your menstrual health, a lot about your sexual health. And we can do that together by taking a course called Menstrual Atonement. It's a course that was written by Chris Gonzalez, who is an acupuncturist out in Santa Barbara, California. And she has created this course really to help us understand our cycle, because our cycle is more than just the period. It's more than the bleeding. It's the times during ovulation, the time between ovulation and period, and so on and so forth. And when you understand your anatomy, when you understand the foundation of how your body works, then you're going to be able to better understand how your cycle is creating an ability for you to have better relationships, to reduce your sense of vulnerability, and knowing that your vulnerability isn't you being moody. It's about you learning, about you growing and evolving into this wonderful, beautiful woman that is so powerful. And that is very, very important for all of us, because many of us have ideas and we have creations like Adrienne's shown us, this beautiful creation of, creating a steaming sauna community where you can go and experience this with your family. We have these ideas within us. And when we harness our sexual health, then those are able to come to fruition, and we're able to birth them into this world. So please have a look at that. The link is in my bio on Instagram, and also you can go to my website, antonikachanel.com, to find that e-course and to sign up for that e-course. Adrienne also did an e-course, and she is very familiar with Chris Gonzalez.
Yes. So for anybody who is watching this, I am offering a 10% discount on the purchase of your sauna. So if you use the code TCMChiC at checkout, it will give you a 10% discount on purchasing a sauna with me.
Wow. That is so generous. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, thank you for having me. I am so honored to be able to share this broadcast with you, and thank you for giving me the ability to talk not only about my story, but about a subject that I'm so passionate about, to be able to help other women live their best and most vibrant life.
Awesome. And how can viewers find you on the internet? Do you have a website?
I do. So my website is moonessence.life. And on social media, my handle is moonessenceme, because I'm based out of Maine. So I have an Etsy store, but I have a lot more available on my website. So you can book through my website, purchase through my website. I would love to be able to dialogue and talk with anybody after the fact. So feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much, Adrienne. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate this time.
Wonderful. So there you have it, folks. We got wonderful information about how to handle your endometriosis. If you loved this message, we would love to see your comments here below. We would also love for you to send people to Adrienne where she can share this message, her story, to more people around the world, around the country, and share the power of V-steaming. So please continue to share and do what you do best by talking about what you love, what works for you, and book your consultation with Adrienne this week before the 17th of June, Tuesday right now. So a week from today, the 17th of June, book that consultation complimentary on behalf of being here live and for within that window. And then please take advantage of 10% discount using TCM ChiC promo code with Adrienne when you book your sauna. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. God bless, and take care of yourself. And remember, don't forget to do your self-care practices. See you next time.